I'm Fletcher Roden, and this is Tracking the Lone Wolf, based on my new book, Tracking the Lone Wolf: The Sigma at Work, at Home, and at Play. Today on Tracking the Lone Wolf, famous Sigmas in history. Tracking the Lone Wolf is a twice-monthly show with a lot of valuable information for just about everybody. So I suggest you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and buy the book either in paperback or for Kindle or in audiobook format from Audible or other platforms. I'm a public speaker, and I welcome you to come to the website trackingthelonewolf.com for more information. You know, history has a lot of alphas, both famous and infamous. Famous alphas may include General George Patton, or Ronald Reagan, John Wayne, Steven Spielberg, and some names more infamous, like Joseph Stalin. But a Sigma is a new designation to us, so we don't really think of famous Sigmas. But in fact, many of the world's most famous names are Sigmas. Remember that the Sigma is socially conscious-minded. The Sigma is a pioneer. Sigma disregards the current methodologies. The Sigma finds their own way of doing things. The Sigma is unconcerned about the opinions of others. So the Sigma includes auteurs like Charlie Chaplin, who go their own way. Orson Welles, film director Orson Welles. Sigmas include caretakers and pioneers in that field, such as Dr. Sigmund Freud or Mother Teresa. Those who are driven, intelligent, focused, but who also favor solitary work, often in isolation, not always. They do not seek to lead, nor to follow. They're not jokesters or pranksters. They're hardworking visionaries who follow their own road and their own code. Boxer Muhammad Ali, certainly a Sigma. Steve Jobs, a Sigma. Most inventors, most auteurs, most pioneers, most innovators. Miles Davis, certainly a Sigma. Bob Dylan is a classic lone wolf. Always goes his own way, always uncaring about the opinions of others or the styles or the fashions of the day. Socially minded, bold, not seeking to lead, but leading if necessary. It's a hallmark of the lone wolf. A solitary creature who leads by example, not by force. The great Renaissance men were also actually Sigmas. Leonardo da Vinci, who pursued his own vision. Michelangelo, Galileo. These are men who eschewed conventions of the day. Interesting to note that those three, Galileo, Da Vinci, and Michelangelo, all were diverse in their artistic pursuits. They didn't just do one thing, and that's a hallmark of the lone wolf. Why is this? Because eschewing this systemic structures, they tend toward reacting to climatic change. lacking the grounding in the culture that society offers, the lone wolf has to respond to changes in climate. We talked about this in another edition of Tracking the Lone Wolf. So, whereas families and social systems have cultural grounding, climate does not. Climate shifts, climate changes. Think of the weather. The weather isn't cultural, it's climate. Culture changes, or culture stays the way it is, no matter what the weather is. The climate may change, the culture remains. But the lone wolf is more dependent on climate, which means the lone wolf is more adaptable. Has to be. More adaptable, more growth-oriented, not fixed-minded, but growth-minded, not system-oriented, but process-oriented. And this means, first of all, less attention to certain systems, such as family. The sigma is less oriented toward family, more oriented toward individual lifestyle. And if we're artistic, and often we are, then that gives us time to pursue a variety of media depending on what the climate is. If, non-fungible tokens become hot, if that's the climate, then your average sigma, this guy, is apt to try some. This is only reasonable because this is where the energy of the lone wolf goes. This is the survival tactic of the lone wolf. This is where the lone wolf adapts and is strong, adapting to climatic change. Has to be, because we lack the security of the social structures which are so helpful to the alpha and the beta and the omega and the gamma and the delta. So this explains a lot of artistic diversity. Myself, for example, a lot of people know me as a public speaker and as an author. A lot of people know me as a fiction writer, as a novelist. Some know me for my music as a recording artist. Others for my as a playwright, for the plays that I've written and directed. Other people know me as an internet personality. And it's because these things are available to me. Even in my writing, if you take my book Writing Alone, fiction and nonfiction, children's books. Some of the children's books are hand-drawn, some are computer-generated. Of the novels, some are for adults, some are for kids. Of the adults, some are histories, some are romances, some are horror, some are rom-com. There's a variety to it. If you're a Sigma and you feel drawn to this kind of multitudinous expression, my advice would be don't fight it. That's what you're here for. If you know a Sigma and they seem to be doing this, and you're thinking, are they losing their focus? Are they losing their way? Could be that it seems like that. And maybe they are. Because with so many choices and with so much flexibility, because the lone wolf has a mobility and a flexibility that most people who are more tied to social structures just don't have. So we have an experimental freedom, and that correlates to our exploratory and curious intellect. We are prone to diffuse expression, and therefore we are often misunderstood. Some people they look at me and they say, are you a public speaker and a book author, or are you a recording artist? Well, I'm whatever the climate requires. That's what the lone wolf does. You would never say to Da Vinci, are you a painter, or are you a sculptor, or are you a weapons designer, or what? Pick a lane, Da Vinci. They didn't pick lanes back then. And we don't all pick a lane now. Some people are more comfortable in one lane. Some people, like Bob Dylan, who is known as a singer-songwriter, is also a painter, and a sculptor, and he does ironworks, and he's a published author and a Nobel laureate. Michael Jordan is more than just a basketball player. The man's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He's a family man. He's a friend. He operates on all three theaters, in all three theaters of life: the familial, the professional, the familial, and the social. He also, by the way, I think is a Sigma. Or he might be an Alpha because he works so well in systems. Hard to say. Well, it's up to us all to make these analyses for ourselves, to understand ourselves. If you're a Sigma, or if you're dealing with a Sigma, or if you just enjoy the work of one of your favorite Sigmas, this information will help you. It will help every member of your workforce, every member of your family, and every member of your social circle. All of this information in my book will. You can learn more about it in that book, Tracking the Lone Wolf, the Sigma at work, at home, and at play. It's available in paperback and for Kindle, and in an audiobook format from Audible and other platforms. Visit the website, trackingthelonewolf.com. I'm Fletcher Roden, and this has been Tracking the Lone Wolf. See you again.